Welcome back. Today we're facing the truth about Christmas. Now earlier we said we'd hear from a correspondent from the Vatican on the Pope's latest admission about Christmas. But before we get to that, let's take a look at where Christmas comes from. Where does this celebration of Christmas originate? We're going to read from an excerpt from a book entitled The Two Babylons, or the Papal Worship, by the late Reverend Alexander Hislop. This is what is stated. Christmas was originally a pagan festival, is beyond all doubt. So you notice this book tells us that Christmas was originally a pagan festival, not a Christian celebration. From which pagan celebration can we actually find the origin of what is known today as Christmas? I'm going to read another excerpt from a book entitled Handbook of Christian Feasts and Customs by Francis Weiser. This is stated. The choice of December 25 was influenced by the fact that the Romans from the time of Emperor Aurelian, 275 AD, had celebrated the feast of sun god Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun. On that day, December 25 was called the birthday of the sun, and great pagan religious celebration of the Mithras cult were held all through the empire. So Christmas, which is celebrated the world over on December 25, finds its roots from an ancient pagan celebration of the feast of the sun god Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, which was a great celebration celebrated on December 25 throughout the Roman Empire. Now there are two things that we should take notice of. One, the date was December 25, and two, the day was called the birthday of the sun. That's not S-O-N, but S-U-N. Now, maybe it's just a coincidence, some would say, that the celebration of the pagan sun god Sol Invictus and the birthday of Jesus Christ fall on the same day. So one could argue that it's still okay to celebrate the birthday of Christ on December 25. Well, is that what we should do? Is that true? Let's read another book entitled The Externals of the Catholic Church. Let's look at what it says here. There was a great diversity of opinion among ancient authorities as to the birthday of our blessed Savior. Many writers, especially of the Eastern Church, assigned an entirely different season of the year from that observed at present. St. Clement of Alexandria quotes some who placed it on the 20th of April or the 20th of May. And a very common belief in the Orient was that our Lord was born on the 6th of January. In the part of the church which follows the Latin Rite, the celebration of Christmas on the 25th of December was begun probably about the middle of the 4th century. An ancient tradition assigned that day as the probable date of the great mystery of the Nativity. St. Augustine mentions it as well established in his day. In about the year 380, the Oriental churches began to celebrate our Savior's birth on the same date. Now we should note that historians point out that the celebration of Christmas on December 25 commenced probably about the middle of the 4th century, and that it was about the year 380 that the Eastern or Oriental churches began to celebrate it on the same date. Now, what accounts for the different dates that were assigned to the birth of Christ? Let's read another excerpt, this time from a book entitled Paganism to Christianity in the Roman Empire, page 249, I quote, "The most widespread myth in Christendom is that of Christmas. Those who take the Bethlehem birth story as history readily accept the traditional date of Christ's birthday. But all branches of the church agree that no data exists for determining the day, month, or year of the event, nor was such a festival celebrated in apostolic or early post-apostolic times. Now, the reason for the varying dates is that no data exists that gives conclusive information regarding the date of Christ's birth. No account exists, biblical or otherwise, that indicates that the apostles themselves, whether Christians who lived during the administration of the apostles and immediately after their death, celebrated Christmas. Well, how was December 25th then given as the date to celebrate Christ's birthday? I'll read from another book, an excerpt from this book entitled The Handbook of Catholic Practices on page 176. This is stated, "It is in January 6th that Christmas was celebrated. But from the start of the 4th century, the date was changed by Pope Julius I to December 25, since the right date was not yet determined." So what is it that we should notice? The date was changed only by Pope Julius I. That is why before the 4th century, the Latin Church celebrated Christmas on January 6th. However, by the start of the 4th century, Catholics began to celebrate Christmas on December 25. And those who have never dived into the history of the holiday still believe Christ was actually born on that day. Well, today, the current Pope of the Catholic Church admits that Jesus was not born on December 25th. But what does this mean for those who truly believe in the holiday and its traditions? Well, let's take a look at this.
Pope has been writing a 3-volume book on the life of Jesus. He also takes into account the results of scholarly studies on the Bible that have showed already for decades that the date of the birth of Jesus, for example, was wrong.
So what does this mean for all the sort of traditions that have built around some of these, myths, as you have it, like Christmas carols and so forth, and even the birth date of Jesus? What does that mean for the way we celebrate Christmas?
Well, as you know, the Pope is a traditional man, and he doesn't want people at all to change their traditions.
Now, what does the Pope say? Well, all these traditions, all these beliefs people have about Christmas never actually happened. Well, if people had gone straight to the Bible to see for themselves, they'd have known that long ago. But what else? Well, according to the Vatican correspondent, the Pope is a traditional man, and he doesn't want people at all to change their traditions. What does the Pope say in the face of the truth? Don't change. He wants parishioners and those who celebrate the world over to stick to these traditions that have nothing to do with the truth. Well, what does the Bible have to say about that? We'll find out when we return on Face the Truth.